Rick Bickford. You'll have 10 minutes to do your presentation, opening statement, response to the questions, at which time then council will have 8 minutes to ask questions.
Good evening, Council. My name is Eric Bickford. I live in Bickford, some of you, as well as Eric Lynn Bickford. I'm the first elected transsexual in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, according to the Election Bureau. But my history goes back to way beyond that. My history goes back to serving my community back home and helping take out one of the most corrupt mayors in the state of New Jersey. I grew up living in the most densely populated area representing 12 cities. I worked as a city health inspector, and I got traded because I had my boss, my political boss's signage on his car, driving his car to work. So he traded me like a ball player from being a dog inspector, going door to door, serving the city up there, to being the first executive aide, the first executive director, the first regional council of mayors in the United States. To this day, it's still the most densely populated. It's heavily bodied. Over 150,000 people live in 12 cities, the same size as Allentown. And as I walk the streets for the last 12 years, people have been encouraging me to run for mayor. I didn't last time because I was sick in bed, so I wasn't able to get out during the petition time. Also, in 1970, I coordinated a campaign team for the Project 70, which was a campaign team that cleaned out a corrupt city hall. And then they elected the mayor, the next mayor, because that's how they do it up in New Jersey. The other thing is, when I moved down here, I had no intention of entering politics. A dear friend of mine was assassinated in 1980. I've been under federal purview, as Darrell and probably Roger knows, since 1980. A friend of mine was assassinated by a political corruption team. And I watched over my back. I moved down here for safety, not to get involved in politics, not to get involved in community leadership, but to lay low and be quiet. And then 2 years ago, I was at a scene. A federal agent recognized me and said he knew who I was. I have great dreams and great ambitions. I walk up Allentown, I walk up Allentown Street almost every day. I'm out in the field with the voters. Representatives of businesses, small businesses and big businesses have been wanting me to be mayor for the last 12 years. My vision for Allentown is a truly open city. What we need to do is deconvert some of these full-grown homes that are now multi-apartments and turn them into smaller homes. We can get financing for some of this by taking the recycling fines for littering, as I talked to Darrell about, or taking that three-strike or outlaw and applying it to tenants that are violating those laws. You have to do something to clean up the city. The city has to look more presentable. Cleaning up after corruption is hard, but I've helped do that in the past. And also, I've helped build the Weed and Seed program with Darrell and Roger. I've also helped build various other programs, as Darrell knows, and interview several people for different positions served on the Human Relations Commission here in Allentown. I'm out in the street, I talk with the people, I talk with the business owners on a daily basis. In fact, Councilman Weaver at the regional national LGBTQ event said, you need to announce here. And as some of you know, my grandson did all the announcing and all the talking. I'm a family person. I am acknowledged by the Puerto Rican Cultural Alliance as being a member. The oldest Flag Day Association is one of my extended uncle and father figures, Joe Zeller's organization, which is Allentown's. We need to start promoting the history of Allentown. It's worked in Bethlehem, it's worked in Easton. Why aren't we doing it here? Why are we not acknowledging the history of Allentown? I also own the rights to the oldest Halloween parade in America, which is Allentown, established in 1904, incorporated in 2006 for fundraising purposes. It's a nonprofit. which my son now heads. So I'm very involved in the community. I'm out in the community, I talk to all people. I have no disrespect for any nationality or any group. I will gladly talk to anybody and try to help them. My son used to say, Dad can't walk from point A to point B without being stopped. Courtney knows that well. Courtney has told him that. A few years back, I got off the bus at the mall. I bus, I walk. A young man, mentally disabled, got all excited because he saw Apples the Clown. Got him off the bus, and I kind of got onto another bus, and another person got on the bus and hugged me and said they missed me. But the main thing was that where Courtney works and my son works, Jay got up and asked who remembers Apples the Clown. Apples the Clown was started to serve communities up in New Jersey. I got my start in politics and community service 57 years ago. I got my political start 48 years ago. I've been serving the public pro bono for the last almost half a century, if not beyond. And I look forward to serving Allentown in that way as well. But you know, again, getting back to my son, he got up and he said, how many people remember Apples the Clown? Everybody in your office stood up, I'm told. But that's not what I want to be known for. I stopped clowning for obvious reasons because I want people to take me seriously. I know city administration. I worked with some of the best city administrators up in New Jersey ever. I helped rebuild Union City, New Jersey by cleaning out that corrupt city hall. And then ironically, on the way out of New Jersey, I ran into William B. Musto, who was indicted and did 15 years for political corruption, just like Ed's going to probably do some then more. And he said, kid, I watched 3 of you boys. He didn't know about my transgender issues then. Grow up. One was a county exec, one's a community action exec, and one's a North Hudson Regional Council of Mayors exec. All those boys had it handed to them on a silver platter. Only one of you boys can build from the ground up. That's you. Built up in Pennsylvania. Joe Dodona at my first Mayfair got up and said, kid, I'm sorry you lost. Keep running, the city of Allentown needs you. But I've been out on the streets for almost 25 years now, talking to the people, affiliating with the people, and serving the people of Allentown. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll get it set up now for 8 minutes for questions from City Council.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And thank you, Ms. Bickford. You actually saved me the trouble. I was going to mention, for the interest of full disclosure, that your son and I both work for the same employer, even though we don't work together.
Right.
But you took care of that. So, my question for you is about community group and neighborhood development. You obviously did start a community group in the city, and I'm curious about some of your ideas on how to revitalize some groups that have fallen by the wayside and create groups in areas that have not had one previously.
Right. Courtney, a few years back, CC came to me and asked me to help build the 3rd ward. I'm also judge of elections, by the way, 3rd ward, which I want to get that vote moved back into our ward. Right now it's at county admin, and that's not a good space for it. But I try to talk to groups. I've gone out and helped 8th Ward build. I helped several organizations within the city build and rebuild. So you've got to go in there and give them the motivation why they need to do it. You need to go door to door. Well, yeah, I'll get it out. Sorry about that. Joe Zeller. Joe Zeller said, you got to go old school with your campaign. You're all in the right places, and Joe don't even said that to me. We're all in the right places, said all the right things. But you need to get out and go door to door. We need somebody who's out there with the people. That's how you're going to change things. That's how you're going to help these groups change. Go out and evaluate the neighbors, door by door, and then see what needs to be done in that particular neighborhood. And get the charter changed so it allows them to do that.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Robinson, Mr. Zuber.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Everett, how do you plan to address public safety issues?
Public safety issues. You know, I've always supported the police department. Darrell knows that. You all know that. I've always stood by, you know, the programs. I'm the first graduate of Inside Allentown. I've been down to the police academy when we did the citizens schools. I was the first graduate of that first school. I want to make sure we have more police officers on the streets. I want to make sure we take that recycling funding, the the sweep funding and apply it to more police officers and more fire department. You know, I lost a family because there wasn't a fire, because we helped take out drug dealers, and you know that, Roger. You know that above all. That fire was set, and it was set, and I lost family. Because we had chased 2 drug dealers, we had chased a gun runner, and then of course I got the big joke when you guys took out the meth lab next door, because it was blue. So I would encourage us that we need to look for funding to hire more police officers on foot, not in a car. On foot is more recognizable in neighborhood by neighborhood.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Ms. Morgan.
Good evening. Thank you for applying. The quick question that I have is, if you become mayor, what is the first issue that you would like to plan to tackle? So if you become mayor, what will be the first issue?
Changing the charter and going over the charter and the positions in the charter and making sure that each position meets the charter and what the charter says their job is to do. And right now we're management heavy, and a lot of it is appointments from a former mayor. So we need to check where they're standing. I would sit down in the department by department, the first month or the first 2 months, however long it takes, and sit down and talk with department heads about what are your needs, what are your goals, and were you appointed, or were you did you go through the personnel rank and file to check your job?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Bickford, one of the earlier candidates had his financial consultant do a study of the city, and I'm not saying this is factual, because I have no idea what I'm knowing, but he claimed that the city has a structural deficit of $8 million. How would you take care of that deficit?
The deficit, like I said, I would take part of those sweep funds and start transferring them over to the general. Because if we were to find people, and we had a weekend sweep officer, we'd have a ton more, downtown cleaner, and we would be able to shift funds that way. We'd also have the state funds and grants to help offset it.
Okay, and just one follow-up question. Would you consider raising taxes?
Possibly, if I had to, but at a minimal, across the board, not by income rate. They're by citizens that are senior citizens living on, minimal incomes would not be overtaxed and overburdened. The other thing I think is not fair, and maybe it sounds a little bit crazy, is we're taxing seniors who no longer have any students in the school system, for education taxes. If you don't have children in the system, then why are we taxing them for that? That's paying for services you don't render.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Before we get to Mr. Green, before we get to you, how would you change that?
How would I change that? It would be an equitable tax across the 2% or 1% across all incomes, not, if you make this much, you pay this much, you pay this much, you pay that much. Fair and equitable taxation.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Mr. Green.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Reverend Bickford. I'm going to ask you a financial question because they've already been asking. I see you everywhere as well.
Yeah.
But throughout the city, I wanted to ask you about what the whole issue about the needs, and I asked this question before, I don't know if you were here, but what will you do differently, or what will you say to those people that are outside of the needs area,
Right.
that feel that they're not getting the, I would say, the progress of the needs?
What do you mean, like
the
Tucker
benefits-
Yarn?
And the benefits of the needs.
You're talking about like Tucker Yarn and the people just west of the NIS.
Anywhere in the city.
Yeah.
Anywhere in the city.
They're not really happy with the NIS, a lot of constituents I've talked to.
What would you say to them?
What I would do is I would say we need to sit down as a committee, study it, and see how we can redistrict it. So it's a fair and equitable disbursement of the funding and of the investments.
Redistrict what, the NIDS?
The NIS, yeah.
Yeah,
So
NIS.
it's more fair and equitable. I would also recommend regionalizing like North Jersey did, so that communities work together to get grants and proposals. That would also share the NIS as well, because some of that NIS, if I remember correctly, goes into either Bethlehem or Whitehall. Maybe I'm wrong, but.
I think I got an idea of what you're
Yeah.
trying to say.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Regionalization can actually help with grants. Regionalization can also help with, programs that we share anyway.
Okay. So you like to regionalize the wealth of the NIS, or you want to do regionalization on government?
Regionalization, joint communities with the same ideas, so what the grants in Harrisburg and the federal, sometimes it works better. It did up in New Jersey, I know that all too well because I helped write some of the grants up there. And it enables you to share the wealth.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, as soon as we reset the timer, you will have 2 minutes to tell City Council why you should be selected as mayor.
I should be elected mayor because I have some experience in city management from the North Hudson Regional Council of Mayors. I helped build the Weed Seed program, as Roger knows, and I helped build and support countless programs throughout the city of Allentown. On my wall are about 15 different proclamations and graduation certificates from, various programs I've attended over the years. And I know the city well. And I know the people well. And I'm not just with one group, I'm out there with the entire city. There have been some merchants on Hamilton Street, small businesses in particular, that are not happy with the NIS or with other issues. And people stop me on the street, and Jay has said it, my son has said it, when there's an issue, people come to Dad and get, point and case would be the Halloween parade. In 2006, a citizen from the West End came to Stevens Park on National Night Out and asked me how we were going to save the parade because the mayor was going to cancel it, and we did. The mayor, however, mandated that I return 15 grand in funds to the major donor because he was supposedly develop a new one. So that's how I would do it.
I don't want to cut you short if you're done.
Go ahead.
That's fine. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. So that ends tonight. Mr. Hanlon, I see tomorrow night we start at 6 o'clock again, and we have nothing before that, correct? Just the candidates at 6. Okay, thank you all.
What you did in the resume.